cover a MyFitnessPal Masterclass, and this is hugely important because it is a key tool in order to track your calorie intake, and it's something that all of our clients and all of our members use, and it's often something that requires a lot of attention to make sure that you get it right in order to get the most out of it. So in today's session, we're going to first of all look at some of the common problems, and these 5 common problems will cover most of the issues that everybody falls under when using MyFitnessPal. So 99% of the problems that people have will be covered in these 5 common areas. Number 1, it takes too long. It's time consuming. People will end up stopping or being inconsistent because of this. Number 2, people won't see any shape changes or the scales moving, think it's not working, I'm not losing, and then will give up using it. Number 3, people don't understand how to use it properly. It's too confusing or hard when eating out and cooking from fresh in particularly. Therefore, they'll give up or miss out loads of meals, and therefore it's very inaccurate. Number 4, it's too stressful and people's anxiety and stress levels go up by using the app incorrectly and then again end up giving up. Number 5, finally, people believe that tracking is 100% accurate, it's taken for gospel, and then lose the plot when things aren't going correctly. So those are the 5 common areas that we're going to go through, and we're going to go into some solutions, and I'm going to take you through some video tutorials that are going to help you overcome all of these problems. So number 1, it takes too long, a time issue. So before I get into showing you some of the solutions into how to be more efficient, you need to realize that this could be down to a mindset issue first. And along with most of the variables and the habits needed for creating a leaner lifestyle, it could be a mindset issue. So it could be that you have other priorities which you think outweigh the time spent on improving you, so the time spent on filling in the app and using the tracking tool. So for an example of that, it could be really filling in this app is probably going to take somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes per day. If you think about just reducing your TV or your social media scrolling by 10 to 15 minutes, that it's going to have a massive impact on where you want to be in terms of your body shape, your health and fitness. I think that is a mindset issue that you need to try and flip. So when we're talking about time, we're talking about efficiency, how to be more efficient when using MyFitnessPal. And then this is going to make sure that we're not feeling that it takes too much time, and then we're going to use it for longer and get the benefits for a longer time. So a big question is when to track. Do you track at the start of the day, during the day, or at the end of the day? And what I would say for this is I'd suggest that you track immediately before a meal or immediately after a meal. Don't leave it too long where you're potentially going to forget what you've had, or you're potentially going to be inaccurate in what you had because you can't remember how much of it you had. Okay, so if you can, either immediately before or immediately after meals. Alternatively, if you're very prepared, you can put everything in it the night before or the beginning of the day for that full day. And this is probably only going to work if you prepped all your meals, so you know what serving sizes and portion sizes you're going to have. And then all you would need to do at the end of the day is add in any extras that weren't in at the beginning of the day. So any extra snacks or things that you didn't account for. What you need to understand is that using MyFitnessPal is a habit. It's a habit that's going to help you to progress. It's going to help you create a leaner lifestyle, and it needs to be built and learned like any other habit or any other new skill. One big time-saving thing that you need to get your head around is that you can save meals on MyFitnessPal, and I'm going to share a quick YouTube video with you to show you exactly how you can do this right now. So a few of you have been asking for some tips and some help with using MyFitnessPal and making it a bit more efficient. So today's tip, we're just going to look at how you can save meals that you regularly have. So when you go into your diary, I'm just going to use an example as to what I've had today. So I've just made some spicy chicken sausage pasta. As you normally do, just add your food in, all the different ingredients there. So we've got sausages, pasta, tomato sauce, mushrooms, pepper and grated cheese. this is something that we'd regularly have, either weekly or maybe a couple of times a week. So if that's the case with something you've put in, if you go to the end of all the inserts, your different ingredients, and go to these 3 dots at the bottom, click those 3 dots, and then these options will come up if you go to save meal. So I'll save that as chicken, sausage, pasta. And then save. You can add a little photo on there if you want to do. Then just dismiss. So then if you go to your diary, a couple of days later, you think, ooh, that sausage pasta was nice, I'm going to have that again. When you go to add your food on your dinner, instead of adding in the individual ingredients, when you go add food, you just go to meals at the top, and then there it is, chicken, sausage, pasta. And then when you click it, add meal, automatically adds all the individual ingredients. So you might have seen there on my meals, over time, the best thing to do is just build up a massive repertoire of all the different meals that you have. Just saves time. Hope you found that helpful. So as you can see there, saving meals is going to be a massive time saver, especially when it is something that you are having regularly. Okay, and as you saw there, it's important that, like I said, a habit that needs to be built and learned like any other. The more you use MyFitnessPal and the more meals you create and save, the bigger your database is going to be, and then the less likely you're going to have to individually input items. And over time, all you're going to have to do is select a meal and put it in. On top of that, using the barcode scanner, there's an option for a barcode scanner, and this saves time. A lot of packaging and things, you can directly scan the barcode and it'll bring it up. It's important to realize that your search database, so when you click on the search bar, if you search for something, your database of things that you've searched will often offer common links with foods that you've regularly paired those with. And it gets smarter and it gets more efficient the more you use it. Again, so it's important to stick with it and continue to use. And again, I'm going to share a little video on how you can use the database and the search function to your benefit. So when adding food into your diary, say you were going to add something for your breakfast, if you search, so say you were having porridge and you searched oats, before you add this in the top right corner, your search database offers common links with foods that you regularly pair with this food. So for instance, when I have oats, I would regularly have it with some milk, some strawberries, some blueberries, and some honey. And then instead of adding all those individually, when I press the top right tick, it then adds all of those in a oneer. So that's a big time saver as well. So foods that you regularly pair together, MyFitnessPal will get smarter and become more efficient at pairing those together so that you don't have to continuously do that. On top of that, it's important to realize that you can share meals with family and friends. Okay, so if you're cooking for a family member who's also using MyFitnessPal, you can save a meal and then share it with that family member so they don't have to put in all the individual ingredients, and vice versa. If somebody else is cooking for you, which is often the problem where people feel like they can't track because somebody else was cooking, if you show them how to do this, you can then get them to add it to the database and then you just save it. So this is a massive time saver. And again, I'm going to share a little video with you to show how you can share meals with friends and family members. Good time saver is being able to share meals with family members or friends who are in the household and who are potentially having the same meals as you. So if you go from your home screen to your main menu, and if you go down to settings and change your diary settings to diary sharing needs to be on friends rather than on private. Once you've got it on friends, make sure that's set and saved. And then you can add friends. If you go back to your main menu, scroll all the way down to friends, as long as you have somebody's email address or username on their account number, if you go to the top right corner and you see the little addition button, You can search for somebody via Facebook, via their email, or via their... And then you can again build up your database of friends. From there, as long as their diary settings are on share, you can click on their name and then go to the little button that looks like a diary. So that's the first top left button underneath the username. Then that'll automatically take you into their diary. You can then go into their dinner, for example, and copy their meal or save their meal. So if you just want to copy the meal into a specific day, so if you want to save it into today, into your dinner, that will automatically pop it into your diary. Alternatively, you can save that meal and then go through via adding it as a meal. So that is a great way of saving time within a household, and especially if you are cooking for somebody else, they can benefit from stealing that from you. So the more friends you create, the more meals you can share quite easily. Lastly, to make sure that you are being more efficient, is using our Leaner Lifestyle Recipe Center. So all our members, all our clients have access to our Leaner Lifestyle Recipe Center, and the latest updates that we've done are awesome. They are going to save you tons of time. We have basically inputted meals, saved them as meals. So when you find a meal on the Recipe Center and you want to input it into MyFitnessPal, instead of having to individually input every single item, you now just have to search in the search bar on MyFitnessPal, Leaner Lifestyle, and then the name of the meal that you're having. And that will automatically bring in the calories, macros, proteins, carbs, and fats. So you won't have to individually add every item. Massive, massive time saver. Last note on efficiency, don't stress over the small things. Small things such as milk in tea and coffee, spices, things that are very minimal calories, in the grand scheme of things, aren't going to make a massive, massive difference in your overall changes. And this could be the difference between you getting too stressed out about the time that it's taken to input all these things and giving up, or thinking, actually, this is pretty smooth. I don't need to put these little things in. I can do it for a long period of time. So moving on to the next problem, it's not working. So you potentially might have been using the app for a month, a couple of months, 3 months, and you haven't really seen a difference in body shape or on the scales. This for me means that it's an accuracy issue. So when things aren't working, it is 100% down to the accuracy of how the tracking tool is being used. So the first thing that we need to look at is your initial setup. So everybody, when they first started, calculated their TDEE, so the total daily energy expenditure, the amount of calories you burn. And then from there, if you're in a deficit, you would have took off somewhere between 0 and 500 calories. From there, you would have then manually put that into MyFitnessPal. You won't, or you shouldn't have, gone straight through from setting up MyFitnessPal and using their setup to create your calorie goal. You need to manually change that from the instructions that we gave you using the TDEE. Okay? And one big thing, if you haven't been seeing any progress and you haven't been seeing the changes that you thought, you can start by going back to your TDEE calculator where it asks for your activity level, which ranges from sedentary to highly active. Most people will probably overestimate that. Don't take into consideration your planned exercise. This is looking at your daily general activity. So how active you are, how many steps you're doing, whether you're on your feet a lot or whether you're sitting down a lot. So be completely honest with that. You might need to reduce that, and then that's going to overall impact your calorie goal. Accuracy is mainly down to how you adjust your serving sizes and your portion sizes in MyFitnessPal. So I want to share with you a quick video to make sure that everybody is adjusting this correctly. So when you're adding food, one of the main important things is that you adjust the serving size and portion sizes for what you're eating. Because MyFitnessPal, when you scan or search something, might just bring up a generic weight, and that'll give you the wrong calories for that food if you don't change it. So for an example, I'm going to have some pasta. I'm going to go to my barcode scanner. I've got a packet of pasta. I'm going to go to the barcode. That's going to bring up a set serving size. That's bringing up 75 grams of the pasta and the calories. I don't want to add that because I'm only going to have 60 grams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 1 gram and then change the serving size to 60, and that automatically changes to the calories that I want, so then I can add that. Okay? And a quick note on that, I would always recommend that you change to 1 gram and then work from there. Because when you select something on the database, it'll bring up what's been put in. So say, for instance, in that example, it was 75 grams of pasta after I immediately scanned it. If you start trying to figure out, right, well, I'm having 50 grams, so what is that a fraction of? So it might be 0.677. It's easier actually just to change it to 1 gram and then multiply it by however many grams you're having. Always do that. It's much easier and it's much quicker. In terms of accuracy, using the search bar function for the database when you're searching for foods, you need to get really, really specific with this. And I want to share a quick video in what I mean about the differences and how far this can affect your accuracy, and then effectively how much progress you're going to make. It's really important when you're adding food to your diary that when you're just using the general search function, you get really specific. And this is one of the big downfalls for people's accuracy and their overall calorie intake. So for instance, if I just searched chicken sandwich, and then if I typed in go on the search, that's going to bring up a database of hundreds of different chicken sandwiches. And if you have a look on the right hand side, you can see that these are ranging from as little as 260 calories all the way up to 540 calories, and that's only in the first 10. So yours, if you just selected the first one, could be a million miles away from that. So you need to get really specific. So this could be a Greg's chicken sandwich. That's being more specific. That's going to bring up one that is more related to you. Another example of this could be, instead of just typing in pasta, that's going to bring up everybody's entry. Even in the first two, look at the range from that, 130 to 420 calories. You need to get really specific. It could be Asda, whole meal. The more specific you get in that search bar, the more accurate things are going to be. And just a quick note on that, it's important to realise that the little things that you put in there, the more specific you get, it's just going to have a huge impact on the accuracy that you're doing. So for instance, if you were having a tin of tuna, you need to be writing the brand. So putting a branding in is one. Putting the supermarket that you got it in could be from another one. That's where you need to get specific. Don't just write in tuna or tin of tuna. John West tuna, Asda, something like that. Really specific, you're going to get the most accurate. Doesn't take much longer at all, talking seconds. And then finally, for accuracy, it's about being completely honest. If you're only partially completing your tracking and using the tracking tool only as and when you think right, you're going to be miles out in your accuracy and you're not really going to know where you stand and whether you actually are working towards your goals or you're not. And you need to realise that if it's not on the plate and it's a snack that you've grabbed on the go, it still counts. You still need to get accountable for that. And also on that, alcohol calories count too. Okay, so make sure you're being accurate and tracking as much as possible. Going into number 3, it's hard to track when eating out or cooking meals from scratch. So if you're regularly eating out or you're regularly cooking meals, this shouldn't get in the way of your making progress and hitting your goals. All you need to do is be smart and then you can win. So when you're eating out and having meals out, there's a few ways that you can be smart. The first thing you can do is that you can look at the menu prior to going out. If you know that the restaurant that you're going to has a menu, you can look at that beforehand and then you can start estimating the calories by adding things into MyFitnessPal, which I'm going to show you how to do in a second. The second thing you can do, and some people don't realise this, you can check to see if the restaurant is in the database. So in the search bar, when I said about getting specific, you can also get specific about a chain of restaurants. So for instance, Nando's, they have all their meals in. Wagamamas have all their meals in. Places like that are chains will do. But if you're going to a local pub or a lesser well-known restaurant that potentially doesn't have their stuff in the database, I'm going to share a video with you now about how to be smart and how to be the most accurate when adding all your meals. Tracking when going out for a meal. You have a couple of different options. First of all, you can try and search to see if the restaurant or chain that you're going to has inputs. So if you're going to big chains like Nando's, for example, they do have most of their options in. So you can get specific in the search bar. But if you go into a local pub or restaurant that's not as big or not as a big chain, you just need to start estimating, but you need to be smart with your estimating. So what I mean by that is trying to split up your plate. Rather than being really generic and saying you're having steak and chips, do things individually. So type in your steak first. Get a good estimate. Choose that individual item first. Add that. Then say you were having chips with that. You can have a quick count up as to how many chips you're having. You can change the serving size and add it that way. Then say you had a black pepper sauce. Rather than just being very generic, get specific with your estimates. Break your plate down as much as you can. And then that's going to be a lot closer as an estimate as to what you are having. So the main thing you need to think about when eating out is just trying to be as good as possible when estimating. That is key to using it when eating out. And one thing I would definitely say about this is try and do this before or after the meal, not during, so that you aren't losing the moment by playing on your phone and potentially wasting time with friends and family. Okay, so either do this before or after. Now going into tracking when you're cooking from scratch. One thing that you need is food scales. Food scales are cheap and they're definitely an essential item that we would recommend for being part of and creating a leaner lifestyle. The first time that you make a meal, you'll use the scales. You'll need to be anal and it will take a bit more time. Then you can save that meal. Then you'll never need to do that again. As long as you know that you are having the same portion sizes, the same serving sizes, you don't have to be as specific again. You don't have to take as much time again. And the idea is that you bank up all these meals and you save all these home cooked meals, so that you don't have to do it again. So what I like to say is be prepared to work hard once to then reap the benefits later. The bigger you can make your saved meal database, the easier things are going to get for you. So again, it's about trying to avoid the instant gratification. So I'll just leave it and chill, and thinking about the delayed gratification. So right, I'll do it now, and then in 6 months' time, I'm going to be where I want to be. Okay. And examples of that is if you were having porridge and first time you had it, you weighed it out, 60 grams, you put that into a bowl. You can see in a bowl how much 60 grams is now. You never have to do that again. Moving on. It's too stressful. Using MyFitnessPal is too stressful. It increases stress levels, increases anxiety. So before getting into solutions, we need to remember here that we are all about flexibility. At Leaner Lifestyle, we're all about flexible nutrition. So that alone should relieve some stress immediately. And I just want to share with you a little video to remind you how to look at a week view rather than a day-to-day view. And this is very important when we are looking at making long-term changes and how to be flexible. Video on MyFitnessPal, just an extension on the last one, going on to why it's better to look at a weekly view rather than a daily view when you're checking to see whether you've hit your goals. So there's a little drop down menu here where you can change from day to week. I would always suggest that you have that on week, because some days you might be way over your target. Other days that just means you have to adjust it so that you're slightly below, and the main thing is that average is what you're hitting your goal, and that's for your calories and for your average weekly protein. So make sure you're looking at weekly view rather than daily view. Gives you a bit more flexibility with your eating. So this immediately takes away some stress about thinking that you have to be perfect on every day, hitting your goal dead on. Okay? Flexibility is key. So you can have days where you're over and have days where you are under. Most of us are going to be shooting for a calorie deficit. Our main goal is going to be fat loss. So remember, your target's set somewhere between a 0 and 500 calorie deficit. That's worked out from your goals from when you calculated your TDEE. So if you're so 100 to 300 calories over on a particular day, that just means that you're likely still under by a smaller margin, or at worst, you're around about maintenance level. You're not actually gaining weight and you're not gaining fat. So stressing about being a couple of hundred calories over your deficit goal isn't actually putting you backwards, it's just slowing down your fat loss progress. That's really important to get around when you're thinking about factoring in celebrations, birthdays, Christmases, things like that. You can go back to maintenance level for so many days and then bring it back down to deficit level. It just means that you're going to have slower progress. And it's the same if we're flipping about things for people who are in a surplus. If your main goal is muscle building, some of you, not many, might be in a calorie surplus. It's the same mentality applies. You can be under your target some days, as long as on an average you're hitting your target. Okay, so that should relieve some stress straight away. So just think that you don't need to be bang on with goals to the dot. A couple of hundred calories here or there each day isn't going to be a major difference. And remember, our main principles are focusing on calories and focusing on protein. So stop stressing over hitting your 3 macronutrients. Your carbs and fats will vary day to day. I don't care about what you're hitting on those. Okay? As long as you're hitting your calories number 1, your protein number 2, your carbs and fats can vary and you don't need to regard them at all. That takes the stress away from those figures. Finally, if you miss a day or two, you've got 2 options how you want to think about it. Number 1, you can take 10 minutes to go back through and try and remember and be as accurate as possible and fill it in. It's not a huge commitment. Or secondly, you can miss them out and just get back to it ASAP. As long as you're not going more than a couple of days, 2 days I would say, without tracking, because if not, then it's going to start to become a bad habit, and that habit's going to last potentially weeks, potentially months. And a good analogy around this is if you had 1 punctured tyre, you wouldn't then proceed to go and puncture your other 3 tyres, would you? And it's the same with if you had a bad couple of days of tracking, why would you just sack off the rest of the week and think I'll start again on Monday? That mentality isn't going to get you anywhere, and it's going to leave you with no tyres, and you're not going to get moving, and you're going to be sitting on the side of the road for a long time until you get back going. So finally, the last problem, it's taken for gospel. So what we need to realise and get very clear on is that all tracking of calorie intake is an estimate. So including MyFitnessPal, it's an estimate. Everything that goes into that database is added by someone. So for instance, I've added foods. Some restaurants will add foods. Different food providers will add foods. Everybody has human error. So do not take every single calorie for gospel. The aim of tracking and the aim of using MyFitnessPal is to be the most efficient and the most accurate we possibly can be. Okay, it's never going to be 100%. If you feel like your body shape isn't changing, your body fat isn't changing, or your weight isn't changing, we need to look at the accuracy of firstly your initial goal setting, then look at the accuracy and the efficiency of your tracking, and then finally we need to look at your exercise, your calorie output level. So how many you're burning. Did you set your target at the beginning right based on that sedentary to moderately active or highly active level, or were you incorrect and therefore your goals are out of sync? All of those things can be looked at, and then little tweaks and little changes will probably get you to where you want to be. So it's important, look at your efficiency, look at your accuracy, and then that's going to massively push you towards your goals much quicker. So it's important that we get this right. If anybody's got any questions at all about this, please let me know ASAP. We need to use this tracking tool. It's a huge, huge benefit for us all.